Hello, dear viewers of the podcast Caught in the Motion. With me, the main host, Yavor Ivanov, and with my co-host, Kubrat Ivanov, more known as Scooby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Today, our topic is the first day back to school. So, we will be covering questions between your childhood and now, obviously, me having my first full day back into school today. For some, it's a pleasant time for all parents and guardians because they'll be free and not liable for their children running around the house at 12 in the afternoon. But for us, teenagers and kids, it's more of a miserable day. So, anyways, Yavor, how are you today?
I'm good, and more importantly, I should ask you the first question and relate to this time of the year. Uh, how do you feel first day back to school?
Uh, I mean, you obviously have the pros and cons because I didn't want to be back to school. That's the obvious answer. But it's also nice to be surrounded by just your classmates, just having a bit of banter, a bit of laughter around. Because it's still different even when you're on summer holidays and you're going out with just your close friends. But it's still a different environment that kind of brings it out in a different way, this type of communication. But in general, I wasn't really too excited about it. There's obviously some nice things, saw some faces I haven't seen over the summer, but I wasn't very, how can I say, happy about my return to the school. Yeah, well, now let's return the question back to you, but with a little bit of a twist. What was the first school day that you remember?
I vividly remember my first day at school when I started. I was 7 years of age, and because the educational system in Bulgaria was different in my time. In the crash, you study a bit, but not much, and then really the real focus of studying starts when you're 7, or some kids start 6. And I remember it vividly. The school was full of children. Not like now. Bulgaria is unfortunately dropping. The fastest dying nation in the world is very little kids, unfortunately. And that in my days there were plenty of children. I saw tears in some of my classmates. The one particular girl didn't want to go at all. She was forced to go. But for me, it was kind of. I look at it. I remember it. My feeling was like looking for some new experience. I said, okay, this experience, I have to have it. There is no choice. And I wasn't forced. I wasn't sad or reluctant to go. It just, I remember that it was different. It was a really different day. For these 7 years of age, what I have seen, I didn't see such an event.
Yeah.
So many kids, all of us with a bunch of flowers giving to our
Teachers.
the teachers, and every class has assign a teacher.
Yeah,
look after
yeah,
this
yeah,
class.
the year had.
The year had, they call it here. And yeah, it was interesting day.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah, and that was the first day at school for me that I remember very vividly.
And did you feel any different while you were growing up? So let's say that feeling as a child when you first started off, and then you're going through your teenage years, you're growing up a little, you're a little more conscious of what's going around. Did that feeling change, or?
Yeah, over the years it did change. For example, when you're a teenager, it happened that at that time in Bulgaria was transaction from communism to democracy, and you start to experience to see things that you did not imagine to see before that. Kids smoking freely around the schools, teenagers. I mean.
Yeah.
Even some people start to take drugs that we
Yeah.
did not know what is that before. So you had to be a bit conscious then when I was teenager in the secondary school, because there were more perils and dangers around it.
Yeah.
And definitely was different than my first 8 years at school, in the high school. In Bulgaria it's 8 years. And Yeah, it was different because the times changed, the system changed, and the wind of change, as a
Yeah,
famous song of Scorpions was saying, the wind of change really came when I was a teenager. So that's changed the things, and yeah, but I would say I was happier in my first 8 years at school because they were more, if you like. More relaxing.
yeah,
They were more innocent.
yeah,
The control was much better,
yeah,
and everything else, the discipline, the control, the safety.
yeah,
Yeah, that's more or less how I
yeah.
felt.
Well, that kind of answers our next question, which was how was school back in your day? So obviously you had a change, which
Yeah,
I'm not going to go through because just the politics in Ireland. There's no abrupt way of thinking or any coalition here that's totally going to change. So I suppose you've had something rather quite unique happen to you because you were, as a child, there was
yeah,
one way of going to school,
yeah.
and then as a teenager there was another way of going to school.
Yeah, and also in my days, in my generation, when you reach third class, you become chavdarche, it's called, with a blue scar on your neck,
Yeah,
with a particular kind of revolutionary Bulgarian hat.
yeah,
And in the third class, we all had a trip, or our school anyway. And most of the schools, I think, in Bulgaria, we had trip to Kovachevci, one village where was born the first communist and the most prominent communist, Bulgarian communist, Georgi Dimitrov. And we had a picture in front of his big statue, he's still standing there. And that particular picture was in the corridor, and I was surprised that they put me in class A because my grandfather was the people's enemy. He opposed the communists and he was in a working camp. And my parents weren't member of the Communistic Party and put me in tech, and the elite class was a bit, then the years passed, for me it was strange why they put me there. But maybe they just start to be more loose
Yeah.
and don't
So
judge so much.
So for the people that don't know, the elite class was the people that were pro-communist, that were
Yeah,
coming
man.
from a communistic background.
Yeah, and
Well, you were-
the year passed, and then I said, "Oh, hold on, how they put me? My two generations before me, they oppose the
Yeah.
communists or stay away from
Dislike,
dislike the communism. My father and my mother, they refused to join the communistic
Yeah.
party. My grandfather in my father's side, he always said he opposed them when they took the power in Bulgaria in 1944. And he was sent to working camp, and everybody had a file, and he had a file as a people's enemy. So he worked there 2 years. 50,000 people were killed in these camps, mainly political opponents of the Communistic Party in Bulgaria, the communistic regime. But yeah, and I was surprised that they put me in the elite class, and actually the principal of the school come with us, and she's in that picture as well. And when you enter the first corridor, the first floor, the ground floor was the first of all pictures in the corridor was our picture, and I was
Yeah.
in it, which now from the distance of the time for me it's a bit strange. Then when you reach 8 class, there were hierarchy that you go up as the age and the education goes up, or further. Then we were pionierčeta or pioneers.
Yeah.
In 8th class, you become 6 or 8. I don't remember. It's a bit hazy now, my memory. But you become a pionierče or pioneer, and you have a red scar on your
Yeah,
neck.
scarf, yeah.
A scarf. I have it somewhere here in the house, but I couldn't find it. And then the next step was when you go to secondary school, you become a komsomolec. And that was the junior youth of the Communistic Party.
And were they with blue or?
Yeah, they had kind of blue uniforms and dark blue, and they were the youth of the Communistic Party. So on them, they were lying the hopes of the
Yeah.
future of the communistic state. I did not reach to Komsomolec because the
Yeah.
wind of change
Yeah,
came in, so
communism
I
fell.
never became a Komsomolec. And then the next step after Komsomolec was to become, when you're adult and finish your study, to become a member of the Communistic Party, of course, if you wanted to.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
obviously,
So yeah, the days were different
Yeah.
in communism, and afterwards they were almost completely different.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, what was the most exciting first day at school for you so far?
The most exciting. It would probably be maybe transitioning from sixth class, sixth class over to first year, because you're starting the new school, new people, new even way to go around the school. That's when you first get your lockers, your own locker with your pin code, with you have a registration room before you go into classes. A totally you actually, for me, it was the first time I ever got introduced with a timetable, having a different teacher for each subject, because in primary school, like, the transition is big, because you go from being in a classroom for 7 hours a day with the same teacher, with no really time schedule with how each subject is gonna go. Each teacher was different each year. Oh, we're gonna do an hour of maths now, or 20 minutes of Irish here and there, and there was never really a system towards it. And there weren't really stressful exams. You just had your Friday exams, and then your Drumcondra ones, which was only in for me it was only English and maths. I think there's an Irish one nowadays, but I'm not too sure. And that transition there was pretty cool, because obviously I was just turned 13, or is about to turn 13, and I'm walking into this much bigger school with these new people, new personas. And the first week and a half, I actually remember it. I was like, oh, maybe school isn't gonna get so irritating or boring, because there's so many new things. But after another week and a half, I'd say I got pretty bored pretty fast. So there wasn't that big of a difference.
I'm sure it wasn't only you feeling that way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So going back to your generation, was the discipline and the way of going to school and respecting your teachers different back in the day?
Definitely. Anything that was involved the state of Bulgaria. That time Bulgaria was People's Republic of Bulgaria. Now it's only Republic of Bulgaria. Some people add it as a Mafia Republic of Bulgaria, but that's a completely different topic. Yes, we had a huge respect for the teachers, and the teachers they were representing the state, and also, but they didn't show care about the students. They had every month visiting the houses to see how the children, if they need more support for any particular subject.
Yeah.
Also, we had behaving marks. When you start school, 6 was the highest mark.
Yeah.
So you start with 6.
Yeah.
But if you do something silly, bullying somebody, or stealing or breaking something on purpose, then your behaving marks going down. And these behaving marks were important because when you go to university, and if your behaving marks are lower, the chance for you to get to university was thin and very
So you had like
small.
two grades. You had your obviously end of school grades, which you still had your end of the year exams in your final year of school, but then they also factorized that behavioral mark where if you scored a 6 or a 5 or whatever.
Well, I think in my class only 1 or maybe 2 the most the marks went down to 5 or 4. But the rest we were behaving, and we didn't cause any troubles.
Would you remember what they would have done to get their marks brought down?
One was stealing, breaking things. He slapped, I think, two students or something, and he actually was threatened that was warned that he will go maybe in the special school. There were special schools that you stay, like boarding schools. You stay all the time, like it or not. Yeah. And also, in my days, the parents were held responsible for your behavior, accountable. Nowadays, you see not only in Armand, in Bulgaria as well.
In general, my generation.
They don't hold those parents responsible. And As I study pedagogy, it's very important three main pillars of one student to be good and to grow up as a valuable and a good citizen and student. This is friends, family, and school. And if one of those goes wrong, or it's say the child mixed with the wrong people,
Yeah.
or the parents are careless, which
Yeah.
is a very they have a very vital role in all that. Nowadays, you see a lot of parents saying, never mind what the
Yeah,
teacher
yeah,
said.
exactly.
Come on, never
And
mind him.
disregard it. Yeah.
And of course, the child said, yeah, my parents told me I should not care. And that's when the trouble starts.
Yeah.
And then in the communistic state, I like it because they hold the parents
They're
responsible,
accountable. Yeah.
accountable and saying, look, you're bringing not a good citizen. You shape character that it won't be good for herself or himself, and also won't be good for the society.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think the education in Bulgaria in my day, when the first 8 years, it was much better. And
Yeah.
also in the corridors, you had a duty on corridor, which when I studied Master of Education, I see new strategies and programs that should partly involve the students in for looking after the discipline of the school, give them a bit of power as well, so they feel that part of that organization or education system. We had a duty on corridor. You could be all week and you watch if somebody is behaving badly on the breaks or smoking. Well, obviously we never saw somebody smoking because in communism was so strict, so nobody taught to smoke in school.
Yeah.
And my days were different, and I would say,
But
uniforms as well. It's great in Ireland. Kids have uniforms.
yeah.
In Bulgaria now, most of school they don't have
No.
uniforms. We can go almost half naked. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but even going back onto how well the child behaves, it was more shameful for also the parents if your child was tantrum.
exactly.
Until nowadays, it's not only that they disregard what the teachers say, but even if they were to be frowned upon, they wouldn't care. Even
Yeah.
by other people, they're just not outside of school. They really wouldn't care.
No.
And back then, those morals and those virtues, they were much more valuable than they are nowadays. Nowadays, you can get away with stuff like, honestly, now obviously I go to a public school, it's no private school where you're expecting the
Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Perfect here.
Yeah.
Now, it is a bit of a rougher school, but some of the things I've heard or happened to the teachers being said, whether it's a female being called, I don't think I can say it on the podcast, to I witnessed also a teacher get assaulted once by a student. So it's thinking of how it would go back in the day. It's much different, especially when you've told me so many stories of how things were.
No, in communism in my time it was something.
Yeah.
If you raise hand to the teacher, that's a huge problem, not only for you,
But
for
your
your
family.
parents. There will be coach, and there will be a lot of complications if you do something like that. And this behavioring marks, they were only as well teaching you from early age
Yeah.
that you should behave.
Yeah,
If you want not to have a brighter future, you should behave. If
Yeah.
you don't, you face definitely consequences
yeah,
for your career, for your study, whatever it is. So in that sense, I like bachelor's education, how the discipline
your
and
first
education.
8 years.
Yeah, and also in Bulgaria, even professor said it. Professor of geography, he said that the exercises book we had for geography for 8th class.
Yeah, so that's like
Now with this book you can pass half of your exams in the university.
yeah,
So from high school book, now in Bulgaria, from high school from communism, what the contents of this book had, if you know it, now you can pass half your exams in university. So it's showing how much decline
the level,
quality
exactly.
of education. Now many people will hate me because I'm now PhD student of Sofia University. I don't mean against the university I studied,
Yeah,
but
it's just
talking
in
in
general,
general, I'm
generalized,
talking
it's-
that the Bulgarian education decline, and if the Bulgarian lecturers in the university really put them hands on them hearts and be honest with themselves, they will agree with me and
Yeah.
say the same.
yeah, 100%. And even you've told me that they've left out, obviously, because we're speaking about our times. Obviously, I'm growing up in Ireland.
Mhm.
You grew up in Bulgaria, but now they're leaving in the books huge national days, uh, wars, events that all shaped Bulgaria as a country, which is crazy to think about. It's like in Ireland disregarding 1916. It's the equivalent to that because even though the revolution back, for example, in Ireland wasn't the one that freed Ireland independently,
Yeah.
it was the movement that caused all the attention to it
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening in Bulgaria. Those movements, they're disregarded. They're not in the books.
Yeah, we made previous podcast about freedom, but again, every ruling regime, because I can call only the European at the moment politicians who rule the EU or just regime, neoliberal, fascist, they they blame the communists that they shape the history and disregard some events and stress more in different facts and events the history. But you know what? They're doing it even worse today. For example, I was asked one of my exams was to make assessment of the history book from, I think it was for the 10th class in the
Yeah.
secondary school in Bulgaria. That was part of my Masters of Education. And in September 1923, it was so-called September Revolution. And in this revolution died between 30 and they died about 5,000 people, and they were involved more than 50,000 troops, police, paramilitary units of the Macedonian Internal Revolutionary Organization against the anarchists and the communists. And 5,000 people die, and doesn't matter which side you're going to take. You have to give the students the facts
Yeah.
and let them decide who was wrong and who was right,
Yeah.
or did it have to take place such a revolution? Leave them to them critical thinking and give them the facts. But you know what? The just when it comes to this period, the lesson before that, finish with the sentence I very well remember, and that's what led to the tragic events in September. Blank.
No.
What happened in December? Did somebody die, or
Yeah.
some birds were passing Bulgaria? What happened in September? Blank, and that's it. So today we witness, because I saw it in communism, I see it now. I saw the propaganda then and now, and I can tell you today everything's worse.
Yeah.
Because it is the communists proclaim that that's the dictature of the proletariat.
Yeah.
They never hide it. They
Yeah.
never try to
Put a mask on it.
to
Yeah,
wrap it
cover
up
it.
with something sweet,
Because
nice looking. Yeah.
everybody's aware how obviously communists
Yeah.
took control of the country. It wasn't through just a handshake or a deal or two like that. There were people killed in the way. But I suppose back then, at least when they were doing that, they weren't saying, "Oh, this never happened. This is a lie." No, that everybody knew how the communist regime was implemented in
when
Bulgaria.
they said we are the dictature of proletariat, the word dictature is there. They didn't hide it. They didn't wrap it up with something. Oh, we are shaping the society with.
We're giving you democracy and then twisting it.
Yeah. Then now it's a hypocritism. Hypocrites. They say, "Oh, it's democracy." Yeah, but if you say that, you can't say political. Oh, no, if you say that in the education, they say the same. Like in the Bulgarian, I very well remember we study about the 7 Yastrebic. It's called there. From Yastrebino, 7 kids were killed by the military in Bulgaria. 7 kids who were supporting the communists, the guerrilla fighters, but they were kids.
Yeah.
They were kids, and they were killed. And even one before was shot 8 years of age or 10 years of age. Said, "But you won't kill me, uncle. I'm just a child."
Yeah.
But they shot the child. They said 7 of them, and they shot them. And this is not studied in the historical books today.
Yeah.
They stress all the communists. They kill this. They torture that person. And let's not forget that there were many innocent people, but many who killed by the communists, or so-called People's Court in after 1944. A lot of them are accountable for a lot of killing and torturing.
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, one guy I don't want to kind of giving too vivid picture of the horror, but what the King's Army and police did. For example, one young man like you, 15, 16 years of age, he was helping the guerrilla fighters from poor family. Of course, most of these guerrilla fighters were from very poor families. They told for something better. Then what turns communism is a different story. If it was not exactly what they imagined, but like my grandfather, but even though he was sympathizer of the communists, but then he turned against them. And this young, very young man, teenager, was caught that he giving food to the guerrilla fighters, and that's a true story. And his father used to was very good in the bagpipe.
Yeah.
They caught the guy, the young man, 15, 16 years old. They chop his head off, and they give it to his mom, and they force his father to play the bagpipe,
Bagpipe, yeah.
bagpipe, and the mother to dance with the head. And when this kind of historical facts and the took place, and these events, these terrible atrocities, are not written in the books, and they only stressing on what the communists did against the. It's very ugly. As a historian, I can tell you, it's disgusting.
Yeah. It's also leaving out. Wasn't that what you just said? Was that with the Ottoman Empire that it had occurred where they helped out the guerrilla fighters, or was that the?
No, that was in when Bulgaria was free, supposedly free under the kings Boris III.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not in the Ottoman Empire. No, it's hard to believe that it.
Yeah, you could do it to your own. Yeah.
No, that was Bulgarian people doing it to Bulgarian people. The officer later, he hid himself to give the orders of this terrible act. First to kill this young man. He could have sent him to jail or something and not kill him, chop his head off, and then asking the mother to dance with the head and the father to play the bagpipe and she to dance. He hid, but after 10 or 15 years, when the communists took the power, they found him.
Yeah.
And of course, the court gave him a death penalty, and he started to cry. And one of his village man from the same village from him, he said, "Why are you crying? You're a terrible man. You did terrible things, and you cry. How do you feel, these parents of that child?
Yeah.
And all the people you kill, innocent people." But this is all deleted from the history.
Yeah.
Deleted, but we know sources. We this is real things happen. There is evidence that they happen. There is picture of these things happen. And they deleting it, the neoliberal fascist. And they try to tell us, look, communism was all bad. All the people they killed, they were innocent. They were lovely people, hardworking people. Yes, there were many of them. And I have a friend, a lawyer in Bulgaria. I will tell maybe his story one day. His father was, the grandfather was a decent man. He didn't like the regime. He took, arms against the communists. And his children were shot in front of his mom by the communists, so because he took arms against the communists. So there is atrocities in both sides. But nowadays they try to delete all was done by the King's Army before 1944.
Yeah.
All the atrocities, killings, raping, you name it.
And this isn't just to not generalize it, but kind of say that we're not speaking about specifically. About one country fighting against another country. It's even that they're deleting information from your own country. So even as a Bulgarian, as you're growing up, you don't know what's happened, or even sometimes I feel like in those type of things you're also kind of forced to take a side in which ideology you kind of think works the best or that you believe in. So by just taking away such information or even
you can't make
forcing yourself to try and find.
You can't have the critical thinking and a clear view of and conclusions to make if you don't have the whole information.
Yeah, but even in school, for the serious students that obviously go and they go ahead and listen to the teacher and they go ahead and they read the school books. As a student that cares about their education, you're gonna suppose that everything that's been said in the book is true. Mm. You're gonna suppose that everything was also included, obviously to your level of knowledge that you can understand. But you're gonna expect that such things like that are going to be included. Maybe not such a no, but you could say nowadays people would say that the story that you mentioned is too vulgar. But I think it's good that stuff like that should be mentioned and events like that should be mentioned because the truth isn't always sweet. It can also be sour because
Yeah, it's true. It's true, and I can tell you for one fact as a historian, the communists, as far as I know, they deliberately never killed children.
yeah,
Then the King's army did. Boris III, his army, and also, which is not mentioned again in the historical, is deleted. For example, in Bulgarian history, his father, one of the most dreadful person in Bulgarian history, Ferdinand, the Fox they call him, he ordered his German allied troops, loyal units of the Bulgarian army to ambush Bulgarians who rise against him after the First World War. He involved us in a lot of wars, and we lost them all, even though the Bulgarian soldiers fight very bravely. And he killed more than 200 people and ambushed them on the way to Sofia. But that's deleted from the books.
Yeah.
That's never happened, never took place. And even now they try to glorify the kings of Bulgaria before 1944,
yeah,
which I find it disgusting and physically make me sick.
yeah,
People who are like Ferdinand, it's guilty of two national catastrophe. We lost half of Bulgaria and the dream of Bulgarian unity. And his son, Boris III, these kings are glorified. They look like the best example, the best persons in the Bulgarian history, which is actually such a disgusting thing. And they even study it at school. And unfortunately, now kids, I see them in Bulgaria, they change because how you said you go to school, they give you this book, and you're a young man, child, or a teenager, and you choose these books. You choose your teachers. You say, well, this is done by experts, history or geography, or whatever its subject is, and you naturally trust them.
yeah,
What is saying there that is the true and the whole truth,
yeah,
but actually it's not.
yeah.
But anyway, talking about history, let's goes to the other question, which is, what is your favorite subject or subjects at school?
I'd probably say my favorite subject at school, even I got a taste of it today as I had a double class and it is business. Shout out Mr. Long, Miss Long, sorry if she's ever watching the video. I like the subject. It just naturally is one of those subjects where I can remember stuff in it, and is some of the terms or words, they kind of just come to me naturally, and the way things work, there's a bit of accounting in it, but there's not too much. So everything, just the subject is one of those subjects that just stays in your head, and I really do enjoy it because I think that's the subject I get the best scores in, and it's the subject that I enjoy the most.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another one up there would be history. History. It's not only just because obviously from a young age I was exposed to history by you, but I just like history. It's learning information, learning about the past, because when you learn about the past, you also learn about how different lives were lived, how what their lifestyle was, and even you could read about a certain country or village or civilization that lived in one period. So let's say in a country, let's say Ireland back in the 1800s, and then you can go over to Bulgaria in the 1800s, even though they're living in the same years, same time period, two totally different lives in some aspects, because different events occurred, different wars, different leaders, different movements. Each country had to develop certain things at different times, and it's really interesting in history how you can it's like watching a video, just reading with your eyes and imagining it how it was back then. And obviously you go over to our favorite empire, which is the Roman Empire, obviously, how dominant they were in their battles, their tactics, the way they taught, the philosophers they had, the authors, the poets. It's all classics in general. It's just history is so enriched with knowledge. And the knowledge that we have now, it's not because in the past 100 years we've had some massive breakthrough. It's from all of the collected knowledge from thousands of years ago that we all managed to put it into one and search in depth. So I think my favorite subjects would be business and history. because I enjoy them the most, and they're just one of those subjects that I do well in school, so I'm naturally good at. Now, what would your subjects be?
Well,
your
I guess
favourite
by
back
now
in the day?
everybody knows that my favorite subject is history, and especially ancient times, and especially ancient Rome. Even though I'm very interested in Irish history, especially the modern ones. I mean, the War of Independence, the Eastern Rising, and so on. Bulgarian history as well, even though it's also very sad. When I was young, when I was in high school, I did like in the beginning maths, but afterwards I got lost, and I had difficulty, struggle to pass the
subject,
exams,
the
and I always kind of pass, never
Yeah.
really get merit or anything in maths, and I have to concentrate, and very, very seldom I have a headache. But when I try to study maths, I always, after half an hour, I have headache.
Headache, yeah.
Literally
Well,
terrible headache. Yeah.
it makes sense that everybody kind of their favorite subject is always the ones that they're the best at, which kind of I remember growing up and I'd be like, but that's just a bit not selfish, but in a way, because I'm good at this, I'm going to enjoy it. But it's just how it is, because it's the ones that you enjoy the most that you remember the most about, which makes you score the highest.
When you're interested in something, you remember better, and you're interested more in that subject, and you want to go deeper and wider about it, and learn more about it.
Yeah.
So history, geography as well, but political geography, where is the countries, where is the capitals, these countries, how the borders change over the centuries. Geography, especially political geography, is one of my favorite. Even though it wasn't distinguished specially political geography, but part of geography was political geography as well. So political geography was an interesting subject for me. Biology as well, but not as much as history. I was interested in it. And that's all about it. Maths,
history,
maths, not really.
No.
PE. Not really.
Yeah.
Now I'm more active than when I was a child.
Yeah, more active.
A teenager. Yeah.
Because it's when you get older, I think, because I've heard it from other people that have been training it. It's you value the exercise and the sports more when you get older, because you realize what you could have done when you're younger.
Yeah, and I should have really. Did more. I remember in the school there were scouts. They're looking for young kids to train, and I was write my name for boxing, but I never come back. I don't know why. And I play a little bit of volleyball, handball when I was young, and of course soccer we play a lot.
Yeah, football. Yeah.
Football in the between the apartment blocks.
Yeah.
Well, apart of that, I didn't like school that much. PE, I find it boring.
No, yeah. Yeah, how it's done with me is we just play sports pretty much for PE, so...
Yeah. And here it's, I think, the end almost to our podcast, and I have my last question here for you. Even in the question, what is... It's an interesting question and valid, very important question. What is the most valuable thing giving you school, in your opinion?
The most valuable thing would be the discipline that you get, because even though the actual communication between teacher and student has definitely, the rules have been loosened and they let more slide nowadays than they would before. The fact that you're getting up at a time you don't want to get up, that you're getting dressed into clothes that not necessarily are the most comfortable ones out of the choices that you have, that you're going into a place that you don't want to be, that you're doing stuff that you don't want to do, I think that in some way it strengthens your mind, because if you always live in too cozy of a lifestyle and you're in your comfortable zone and you're not willing to push yourself, even the fact that you're getting up early in the morning to do something that you don't like, I think it's good. Now, obviously, in 10 years' time, you don't want to be working a job that you don't like, that you hate, that you dread going into. But I'm just giving it as an example that it's good to start building such stuff from a young age, because that discipline of getting up early and doing stuff like that in school is good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good rather than school being moved to be later,
Yeah.
so that it can suit your comfortable time. Because I feel like this generation, especially, has my generation are much less tougher, obviously, with the stories that I've heard about your generation. So I think it's good. I think the best thing that we get out of it is discipline.
For me, school, yeah, I agree with you, is give discipline, and also how you said sometimes you don't want to do this and that, but you have to.
You have to.
And
yeah.
I think not only in school, in sports and in life in general, to achieve something, you have to get out from your comfort zone.
Yeah, and
If
do
you
stuff
don't, yeah, if
that
you
you don't
don't, you can achieve. Won't go further, and whatever it is, sports or profession, if you don't get out from your comfort zone.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Whether you're studying a degree, whether you want to develop yourself in a sport, whether you want to get a job that you want to get. For you to get the end reward and the goal that you want to, that's going to be so nice, so sweet. You're going to have to do, no matter if it's the start of the road, if it's the middle of the road, or if it's every single time that you have to go back into working it to get that reward, you're going to have to do something that you don't like at some point.
Yeah, even if you look at the elderly people as well, for example, to keep reasonable health, you have to move. And I'm sure, yeah, and I fully understand most of the elderly people. They don't want, because they're already old. They work all their lives. They want to just sit down and relax. You know,
Yeah.
the body is not the same like when you were 20 or 30 or 50.
30, yeah.
But they have to get out from their comfort zone and walk. It is half mile or a mile
Yeah.
or 1 kilometer, whatever you want to measure it, and
keep fit.
to keep fit, to keep moving. Because if they stop, then
Yeah.
the health deteriorates. So
Exactly.
in any age, you have to get out from your comfort zone
Exactly.
to be doing some progress.
Exactly. So I think that was a good way to finish our podcast. And to anybody that was watching today's video, I hope that you enjoyed it. So if you would like to, hit the like button. And if you want to get notified on any new videos that we have just posted, hit the notification bell and the subscribe button. And we'll catch you in the next one.